morning, everyone. We are already in our second quarter. Are you ready to learn new lessons? Well, let's begin. This lesson, we will be talking about physical and chemical change. When we say physical change, it is a change in the physical properties of matter, meaning even if you crush, you crumple, you bend the material, it will still be the same. For example, when you break a pencil, after breaking it, it will still be a pencil. When you crush a can, it will still be a can. When you bend a spoon, it will still be a spoon. So whatever you do with the object, if you break it, you crush it, you bend it, you crumple it, it will still be the same. Thus, there is no new material form. That is physical change. But when we say chemical change, it is when a substance breaks down and loses its properties and a new substance is formed. That is our keyword. When we say chemical change, there is a new substance formed, unlike physical. For example, we have the egg. The first thing or the first object is the circle egg. But when we cook it, it forms into a food that we can eat. Next is burning of wood. If you cut only a wood, it will be physical change because after it's still a wood. But if you burn a wood, what will it become? It will become ashes. And it will not be a wood anymore. Rotting of banana. So all these materials, if there is chemical change, there is a new substance formed. And there are changes in materials affected by temperature. We have evaporation, condensation, melting, freezing, and sublimation. Let's talk about evaporation first. Evaporation means it is the process of changing liquid to gas at a constant temperature. For example, we have boiling of water, right? So when you boil water, if you have noticed, there's a steam coming out. So that is evaporation. Else, drying of clothes. It's very wet, but then it becomes dry and it turns to gas. Although we cannot see it, but it turns to gas. Also, when it rains very hard, have you noticed that? These days, it's always raining. So if you go out, you can see the ground very dry, but when the sun comes out, the liquid on the ground goes up and evaporates and it turns to gas. That is evaporation. Next one, we have condensation. When we see condensation, it is a process of changing gas to liquid. So it is the opposite of evaporation. For example, we buy or whenever we have hot or cold drinks, if you have noticed with your glass, if it's really hot or if it's really cold, you will notice there will come droplets of water in that glass. Right? If you can see here, the teapot is very hot because of the tea. Okay, and if you can see, there's a fog or blurry in the glass. Why? Because that's liquid, because of the hot, because of the steam. And afterwards, it will form into liquid, droplets of water. So that is condensation. And also, if you have noticed, if it's raining, if you look at your window, it's really hot, it's very clear. But when it starts to rain, it will become foggy. And even though, if you have noticed, your windows were not drenched with rain, still there are waters in it, droplets of water. That is condensation. Next, we have melting. So when we say melting, it is a change in phase from solid to liquid. So when we melt things, we use heat. For example, we have ice cream, right? Whenever it's hot season, we like to eat cold snacks or food. And if it's very hot, these food tend to melt. And also chocolates, right? If it's really hot, if you buy something or if you buy chocolate and then you forgot to eat it and it stays in a place, not in a refrigerator, when you get it back, it's already melted. Why? Because it's not properly placed in a place where it needs to stay frozen. That's why it's melted, because of the heat. And we have opposite of heat, we have freezing. So it's a change from liquid to solid. For example, ice cubes. And we have popsicles, ice cream. So that is for freezing. And last one, we have sublimation. So when we say sublimation, it is the process of changing solid to gas without passing the liquid state. For example, dry ice. You can always see this one in experiments, science experiments. So if you can see here, the dry ice, it's still solid, but you can see the gas. So that is sublimation. So those are the changes that can affect our materials with the temperature. We have evaporation, condensation, freezing, melting, and sublimation. However, there are effects with these changes, either good or bad. So there are effects of temperature change. First one, we have the positive effect, or the physical change. First one, it helps our food without spoilage, right? Whenever we have extra food, where do we place it? Inside the refrigerator for it to freeze. And then we can reheat it so that we can eat it again. And it also helps us in making different products, right? When we have metals, what do we do with it? We melt it so that we can have a different product. And it dries up our laundry, our sweat, our wet hair, or anything wet. And also, it causes rain. If we have evaporation, we also have condensation. And rain is also very beneficial. For who? For our farmers. Why? Because of rain, because of the water. It helps our plants grow. And that is very important for farmers and also for us. Because without it, we don't have anything to eat. Okay, and if we have a positive effect, there are also negative effects. First one is dehydration. So too much evaporation can cause dehydration. And it's also really bad for our health. Also, withering of plants. If it's too much evaporation, it can cause our plants to wither. And what will happen if our plants wither? We cannot harvest them. We cannot eat food, and there will be drought. And we have flood. This is for condensation. If it's too much condensation, we can experience flood. That is what is happening in some of the parts of our country. And we have positive effects for chemical change. It can help us in cooking, in camping, and in producing light. Negative effect of it is decaying of food and burning of things. But even if we have positive effects and negative effects in those temperature change, don't worry, because there are also ways in which we can help minimize the effect. If you want to go out and it's very near from your place, then you don't need to ride a car or ride a taxi. Instead, you can just walk or ride the bike. And riding a bike is also very famous these days, especially now that we don't have PUJ or public transportations. We don't have jeepneys anymore. People are opt to ride a bike, and it's very good for our health as well. It can serve as our exercise. Also, we need to turn off lights and other appliances when not in use. Do not let them stay on even if you're not using it. Use a fan. Instead of using aircon all the time, you can use fan. And avoid burning plastics or garbages that can cause damage not just to us people, but also to the environment. And disposing of garbage properly. So we should know how to throw waste properly, not just throwing it anywhere in the streets, in our school, in our house. That is for our lesson today. I hope you learn things that you can also apply in your household.